The Labour Court has granted Ford an interdict blocking the strike action at its facilities in Pretoria. The matter sat on an urgent basis in court yesterday, with the motor manufacturing company pushing for the resumption of production at its Silver plant. The interdict says that striking workers must stop the demonstrations and go back to work today. The workers downed tools, calling for profit sharing at the company. SABC News economics reporter Katlego Legodi is tracking the story and joins us live. Good afternoon, Katlego. Now that this interdict has been granted, what does it mean?
A very good afternoon to you, Nastasia, and to our viewers at home. Well, this is a temporary or an interim interdict that has been granted by the court. We understand that the union has been given, or the parties have been given until the 28th of August to come back to the court again with a compelling case as to why then this profit sharing just bid by the workers should be entertained by the courts. And also we see the workers now just regrouping and trying to forge a way forward in terms of really what they've described here as a blow to social justice and what they've been calling for. So that was a 3-page interdict, a court order that was granted, and we saw that 3-page being read out to the workers, and most of them just indicating just from the get-go that they're not happy with that outcome of the court, even more or less talking about how then they should really solidify their stance as the workers in terms of approaching the courts even earlier before the 28th of August to ensure that at least then this company Ford is pushed to ensure that there's profitability or the profits are shared with the workers on the ground. So they're trying by all means to process what came out of court. Of course, court approaching Ford approaching the court on an urgent basis. Nastasia arguing here that really when you look at it, the company is suffering losses as we see this particular issue going forward. And they also argued that more or less what was presented by the workers in terms of their call for profit sharing was something that was contained in the National Bargaining Forum agreement, and the court seemingly just seeing this strike action here as not one to go ahead as the workers had planned this as an indefinite strike action. The order says here, Nastasia, that they have to go back to work immediately today, as early as midday today. They have to go back to work, but we see the workers is talking about an option of going back to work on Monday. Others even saying to us here that they are not actually in any way welcoming that court interdict, as they try by all means to block efforts by all means to go back to work, saying that they're not going to go back to work until their demands are adhered to. I'm going to bring Asaf into the conversation. They are the federation to NUMSA, and they're here with the workers. We saw you from early in the morning, Trevor, just waiting for this outcome in terms of the courts, and really most of the workers were expecting that the courts would rule in their favor in terms of just ensuring that when we look at it, the strike action would continue and there would be engagements between the two parties, the union and the employer. But it doesn't look like the workers, you guys got your way as the unions and the workers, labours. Give us a sense of your reaction to where we find ourselves here this afternoon.
Look, we are surprised that the court granted them an interim interdict in section 2.1, saying that the strike is unlawful and unprotected. In section 2.2, saying that the strike is interdicted, and therefore in 2.3, instructing NUMSA and the workers, of course, to desist from this and abide by the two until the hearing will be taking place on the 25th or 28th of August to actually validate or invalidate this particular order. And now, why are we surprised? We're surprised because NUMSA has done everything procedurally. And procedurally, I mean that they were able to go into the bargaining council, negotiated this issue for 2 years, and eventually went into declared a dispute, and the dispute, of course, was conciliated in the presence of the commissioner. And in the presence of the commissioner, where they failed to find eye to eye, there was then a declaration by the commissioner that they couldn't conciliate, and therefore they granted them the certificate for a strike. So we do not understand why in the first place the strike is called unprotected, because from that we understand that procedurally this is an issue that through the processes was declared a dispute, and as a result, the parties could not find one another, and therefore a commissioner issued a strike certificate. So on the second leg, we think that the issues raised here are substantive, and we have made this argument in the morning that NUMSA is a case on the issue of profit sharing, because as we have said earlier on, the profit is a result of the value created by workers, and workers are entitled to a share of that particular. So it is a matter of mutual dispute, and it's substantive, and we do not understand why in the first place the court saw it fit to declare the strike firstly unprotected and unlawful, but also interdicted it.
I mean, also one of the things that came out was the fact that there were no substantive reasons given as to why then the court decided to move in that way. We understand that the reasonings will be given at a later stage here so that you guys can process and lodge a way forward. The workers are not happy with this outcome, and you hear most of them saying that they are not even in any way going to adhere to that particular court order. As the unions, you have a responsibility here, as you are the ones that took then this matter to court, to try by all means to then speak to them and try by all means to lodge a way forward united, if indeed then you will be continuing with the strike action, or on Monday we'll be seeing workers, some of those workers here, others then outside. Give us a sense of what is your understanding of where we find ourselves and now in terms of the engagements with the workers and how they are receiving this news this afternoon.
Obviously the workers are not happy, they want to continue with the strike. But I think in that department we'll have to listen to NUMSA's legal team and NUMSA's leadership as to what will be the way forward, because I think the leadership and the members are going to have further discussions and advise one another. And I think as the federation will take cue from those advices which will be given by the leadership of NUMSA to workers.
And just before we let you go, Trevor, just give us a sense then of really, in terms of the collective bargaining processes, the National Bargaining Forum, and this issue, we understand that this matter is going to sit again, this industry, in the coming year. Looking at where we find ourselves in terms of what came out of court as well, does this solidify your approach? Do you more or less strategize with that in mind, that there is this process of profit sharing that will have to be clear within the bargaining forum and that agreement as to the way forward where this is concerned? Because even in court yesterday there was confusion as to whether that bargaining, the profit sharing has been included in the initial agreement, the framework for the industry, and if the company then has a leg to stand on to say that that has been accommodated in that bargaining forum. Where to understanding of the process in the coming year?
Look, I think one of the issues is that the idea around profit sharing, like we said in the morning, is an issue that has not really been utilized in many bargaining councils, bargaining forums, and it sounds to be a new concept to a certain extent. What the company wants to argue is that the incentive bonuses can suffice to be called a part of profit sharing, because they are to a certain extent bonuses that accrue to workers on the basis of their performance. Now, of course, NUMSA is arguing differently, and therefore we think that 2 years has been enough, or rather sufficient, to discuss this issue. And the fact that the company continue to insist that NUMSA is not entitled to, or workers here are not entitled to share in the profits in the manner in which NUMSA is pitching it, is of course a matter which, one, requires further debate, but secondly requires to be understood so that they are not confused with the normal incentive bonuses which workers get, because I think that's where some of the people also might actually be confused as to what is actually at play here. If the union is arguing that we need to share profit, if the workers are arguing that we need to share profit, but at the same time the company is saying no, we're already sharing the profit with the incentive performance bonuses, I think we have a case, and we have made the case, and we have actually substantively shown that indeed there's a need for a profit sharing, and profit sharing has to take a different form and not a form of an incentive bonus. And this is because workers, in our view, are the ones that are responsible for the creation of the wealth and therefore are entitled to share in that value which is created but is reaped only by the management and the executives of the company.
Trevor, we're out of time. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us your time. It's really back to the drawing board, Anastasia, for these workers. We hear them saying that they have started to more or less say that they'll be getting back to duty on Monday, but we see their legal team saying that also they will be organizing themselves in terms of receiving that feedback, the reasoning behind this interim interdict, and then launch a way forward where this is concerned. It's back to you in the studio for now, Anastasia.
Thank you to our reporter, Katlego Legodi.